Hello and thanks for watching this Finance with Excel video. In this video I'm going to show you how to build a workbook that's really useful for teaching students options and different option strategies. What this will do is we can basically create any option strategy that we want, and this graph right here will show us the payout for the options strategy. So for example, suppose we want to do a call spread, which is to buy one call. So we would go here to call, and so we're going to long a call, and we're going to buy a call with a low strike price, so 40, and then we are simultaneously going to sell, we're going to sell a call with a strike price of perhaps 60. And we can see that this will give us this sort of payout. For call options, the lower the price, the higher the premium. So for this lower price call option, we know that the premium is going to have to be higher than this higher price call option. So we'll say maybe the premium's 4 instead of 2. So now the students can look down here and they can see that this blue line gives us the overall payout of our strategy. This black line gives us the break-even point. And these two gray lines give us the payoffs of the underlying options that go into the asset. Now we can also include strategies where we also own the underlying asset. These are useful for teaching students about hedging strategies where you're naturally long or short a particular asset. So we could for example long the stock, and then we see that our payoff goes there. It goes like that. And so this gives us a nice useful way of teaching students about call options, or about options and strategies in general. And the last feature of this is I just have this reset graph button, so I click this button and it resets everything so that I can then try my next strategy. Alright, now I'm going to show you how to build this. We're going to start building this by putting the table inputs that we had on our previous table just right here in the graph. Next, so if we remember the previous graph, we can long or short the stock, and then we can include up to 12 different options in our portfolio. And so to look at this, to kind of make it easier for us to see this, I'm just going to put little headings up here. So this will be where the stock information is. This is option 1, option 2, and then I can just drag this over. Okay, so this gives me a column for each of the options. Now in this type, as we noticed in the previous thing, the type says, well, is this going to be a call or a put option that we're going to be dealing with? And we had a drop-down box. So we need a list that tells us where that drop-down box is. So I'm going to create that list right here. So I'm going to do, and then put, and then call. Now in this long or short, it's going to just be another drop-down box that says long or short. So I'm going to do the exact same thing over here. Long, short. Okay, and then the strike price I'm just going to set as a default at just 50 for all these. This is just because in my graph I'm just going to have the theoretical stock price go from 0 to 100, and so the strike price will be 50. The current price of the stock we're just going to set to be equal to 50, and this is just arbitrary, and it lets me just make a graph that's centered between 0 and 100 with 50 being the base price. The premium charged, I'm just going to put 2 as a base, and but just remember that this will change whether or not with the strike price and whether or not it's a put or a call. Remember that for call options, the cost of the call option increases as the strike price decreases. And for put options, the cost of the option increases as the strike price increases. So if you're doing a strategy where it's buy one out of the money call and sell one out of the money put, you need to make sure that the premiums reflect the fact that they're going to be different for the two types of thing. Now the quantity purchased the default is just going to be 1. But all of these can be changed, and so I'm going for the options, I'm going to highlight them in gray, which is just good form so that the students or the user knows that these are things that can be changed. Now for the stock, it's a little bit different. The type doesn't really matter. It's just going to be a stock, and that's going to be set. Long or short is going to be an input, and the strike price and the premium charged are both not going to apply. So I'm just going to put an NA there. But we can change, we could long or short additional shares of the stock. So this gives us kind of the basic of what we need. Now we need drop-down boxes for each of, and there's not actually going to end up being anything in there. But we need drop-down boxes for the type and then for long and short. So for the type, we just highlight this. We go to data, data validation, and then give only accept values from a list. And where's the list? We just go to select, put, or call, and then OK. Now we can see that select, put, or call is what is there, and I'm just going to copy select and paste it over. And now the reason why I can paste it over is because if you paste something in that is exactly equal to something in this drop-down box, it will accept it into the cell. But if I tried to type something that wasn't that, it would error on me just like this. And now for this long or short, I'm going to create another drop-down box, and I'm going to go to data, data validation, allow from a list, and the source of this list is going to be right here. Select long or short, and then OK. Now once again, select is going to be what I want the thing to be, and now we have all of the inputs that we're going to need for this table. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to then create the payoff functions down here for each one of these particular options. So the first thing I'm going to do just in this column is I'm just going to have the stock price. And this is just, so suppose the stock price is whatever it is right here, what will be the payoff of my stock, or what will be the payoff of my whatever option is right here. So the stock price is just going to go from 0 to 1 to 2, and then I'm just going to take it all the way to 100. Oop, that's too far. There we go. Okay, and then now I want what is going to be the payoff of if I own the stock. So if I'm not including, so this is going to be the stock payoff. So if I'm not including the stock, then I want this value to return a 0 because it's not going to factor in. So the stock payoff, I'm going to use an if function. I'm going to say if this cell right here, and I'm going to anchor on that, equals select, then return a 0. But if not, then give me the stock price minus whatever the current stock price is. So I'm going to say F4 right there. And so now we can see that this is going to be the stock payoff if for these various assets. But then you say, wait, but what if we want to long or short it? Well, if we're longing the assets, it's just going to be a 1 multiplied by this, and if we're shorting the asset, it's going to be a negative 1 multiplied by this. So I'm just going to use another if statement. I'm going to say if long or short equals long, then give me a 1. If not, give me a negative 1. And then I'm just going to have that multiplied by whatever comes in this second thing. So if this says long, it's giving me 1. And so now I drag that formula down. And we notice I made an error over here. I forgot to put the 2 dashes at the end, and now that returns a 0. So now this is dynamic. So if we want to include the stock, but the last thing you say is, well, what if we want to change the number of shares that we're longing or shorting? So then we can put right here. So if we say 1, well, then all we're just going to do is we're just going to multiply this number right here times whatever our payoff is going to be. So if we own one share, then that's what it's going to be. So now, if I'm going to long this stock, we can see that this is my payoff. If the stock price goes down in value, I lose money. If it goes up in value, I gain money. Now, if I short, then we see that we get the exact opposite payoff structure. And if I were to multiply this, if I were to own 2 shares of this, everything doubles. So now we have a dynamic stock payoff function. So let's move that back to select. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to have the payoff for options for each of these options. And we need to calculate those. So for each of these options, we want them to return a 0 if they're not included. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an if or statement. So if this cell right here, and I'm going to anchor this to the row but not to the column because I want to be able to drag this formula over as so I don't have to write the formula in for each of these cells. So I anchor to the row, and this is going to be row 7, and so I just hit F4 twice, and it only anchors to the row. So if that is equal to select or this cell, and I'm going to anchor once again to the row, is equal to select, and then I close my brackets, then I want you to give me a 0. If not, I want you to ask the question. I want you to say I'm going to ask another, so we're doing a nested if statement. So I'm going to say ask if this is equal to, so then once again anchor on the row, is equal to call. Then I want you to give me the payoff of a call. And so what is the payoff of a call function going to be? Now we're just going to assume this is long because we'll just once again put an if statement at the front that says if it's short, then just multiply it by -1. But what is the payoff of a call function? A call function is just simply the max of the price minus S, or the price minus the strike price. So the payoff is going to be, once again, we're going to have to use another if statement. We're going to say if the stock price, which is right here, now this we want to anchor to the column so when we drag it over, it will be dragged. If the stock price is greater than the strike price, and then this one I'm going to anchor to the row. Then I want you to return the stock price. Make sure you do your anchors correct. Minus the strike price. Minus whatever the premium charged is going to be. And then once again, we're going to be anchoring that there. And if not, then the cost is, or then the payoff of this is just simply going to end up equaling negative the premium charged. Now we can close that if statement. Now we have a couple of other if statements that we now have to answer. So now we're going back to this if statement. It says, so if C7, which is that, is equal to a call, then it gives me this function, or it gives me this payout. If it's not equal to call, then the only other option is, because we've already eliminated select right here, then the only other option is it's going to be a put. So now we need to calculate the payoff function for a put. Now a put is just simply the max of the stock price, or the strike price minus the stock price, and 0. So now we're going to ask another statement. We're going to say if the stock price is less than the strike price, so if the stock price, and then make sure to anchor that on the column, is less than the strike price, then make sure to anchor that on the row, then the payoff to a call is simply going to be the strike price minus the stock price minus the premium that we had to pay. And if not, it's just simply going to be negative the premium that we had to pay. And we're anchoring all these. Okay, so now we have finished this major if statement, and we have finished this whole if statement. So then we just put a parentheses right here at the very end to close our last. So now, if we look at this, if this is true, so let's just walk through the logic real quick. If either of these two cells is equal to select, then I want you to return me a 0. If not, then go through this whole thing. So what this says right here is now we're going to go to this if statement. So this statement says if the option is equal to a call, then give me the payoff of a call. If not, then give me the payoff of a put. And then we just close all of this and we hit enter. Now we double check this for errors, and as I was double checking this for errors, I found that this right here is anchored to the column. We actually want it to be anchored to the row. And so I need to put the $sign right here, so it's like that instead of like that. And to round out this formula, all we need to do now is multiply this formula by the quantity purchased. And so that's just going to be here, and make sure that we anchor it on the row. So now we can drag this formula over, and we can drag this formula down. And so it's filled with all zeros at the moment. And we can see, for example, if we select this right here, that it's giving us all of the appropriate boxes are still selected. So we've filled in this whole thing. Now, what we should find now is if I select a put option and I want to long that option, then we get this sort of payout. So payouts, put options, pay out when the stock price is worth worth 0, or as the stock price goes down. So we can see that this put option becomes more or less valuable as the stock price increases until we get to the top where the put option is not worth anything if we're going to long it. Now over here we can have a call option, and we can long the call option. And so a call option, if I'm going to long a call option, we see we're losing our premium up until the stock hits the strike, and then it increases in value. But you've noticed I have not yet included a way to long or short. Well, to do that, we just simply add an if function at the beginning, and we're just going to say if this cell right here, and make sure we anchor on the row, is equal to long, then give me a 1. If not, give me a -1, and then just multiply that by whatever is in the formula. So now we can drag this. So now, if we drag this down, and so we change this from long to short, it just changes the sign. So now let's drag this over and drag this down. So the last thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to add a column called the portfolio payout. Now this portfolio payout is just simply going to be the sum of all of the elements of our portfolio. And then we just drag that down. And now we're just going to add a graph that tells us, or that has all of these elements in it. And we don't need the stock price in our graph. We just want all of these in our graph. And so I just highlight all the data that we want in our graph, and then I go to Insert, Line, and then give me a line. So we can see that here now we have this nice graph. Now I actually don't want really any of these here, and I'm just going to get rid of all of this because we just want this to be a very, very simple graph. So now we have a very, very simple graph that that shows us all the different paths, but we need to format the different lines differently, so that way they show up so we can see which one is the overall payoff and which one is the not the overall payoff. So here's how I'm going to do this. I'm going to clear out all but 2 of the options, or the two of the things. So I'm going to say, well, let's long the stock, for example. So now we can see over here that the portfolio payout is going to be this line, or this kind of tan line right here. Well, so I'm just going to select that line, and I'm going to go select data, and then or not select data, sorry, I'm going to go to format data series, and then I'm going to go to line style, and I'm going to increase the size of this line, and I'm going to make this line a nice blue color. That way I know that this line, my overall payout. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is I can see that I've got these other two lines right here, which are the payoff of the stock and the option. And so I'm going to select these, and I'm going to go to format data series, and then I'm going to go to line style. But these I'm going to make smaller. I'm going to make 1.5 point, and then I'm going to make them, just turn them into gray, and so that way they don't show up as strongly. And lastly, I select the other one. So I grab that one, I go to format data series, line style, make it 1.5, line color, I'm going to make it gray, and close. So now we can see here that the blue line is the payoff overall function, and the all of the rest of the functions that are in our graph are just going to show up as zeros, and so they're the rest of these. But I want to be able to, so I can follow that process. So now if I add, for example, if I come over and I add something into option 2, like a put, and then I'm going to long the put, we can see that it shows up here, and so that makes it really easy for me to change it. So I just go to format data series, line style, change that, line color, change to there, and then close. And then what I can just simply do is I can just go and change that back to select, and then just select the next one, and we can just go through and I can change all of them to be gray. So I'm going to go ahead and pause while I do that, so that it doesn't take forever for me to do that. I'm actually going to add one data series to this graph, which is just going to be a nice black line at 0. So I'm just going to come here and type in 0, and it's just going to be all zeros. Now to get this into my graph, I just right click on my graph and I go to select data. Now it comes here and it opens up this and it says, well, what data do you want? Well, all we're doing is we're just expanding this from O to P. And we click OK. Okay, so now that we've done that, we can see that we have this this green line right here, and we want to make this green line nice and black. So line style, we don't want it to be as thin as the other ones, and then line color, we just want it to be black. And so this lets us know where the stock, or where our portfolio will break even, and where it won't break even. So now, even though I don't have axes on there, because all I care about is the shape, I want to know that this bottom axis is the stock value, and this horizontal, or this vertical axis is the value of my portfolio. So to do that, I just come to Chart Tools and I go to Layout. I go to Axis Titles, and then my primary vertical axis is going to be a rotated title, and this is going to be portfolio value, or payout, or we'll say value. And then on the bottom, we're going to have, on the horizontal axis, this is just going to say stock value, or we could say asset value, underlying. So this just lets us know that as the underlying asset value increases, this is what's going to happen to the value of our portfolio. It's going to increase, and then the way we have it right here is we just have a kink. Now we essentially have everything that we need. The last thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a macro that refreshes all of these back to what they were for our defaults. To do that, you go to your Developer tab, which is in your ribbon, but if your Developer tab isn't there, just go to File, go to Options, go to Customize Ribbon, and then click on the Developer button right there, and that will make your developer tab show up. Now we're just going to click on record macro, and we want to save this macro in this workbook. You can also save it, if you save it in your personal macro workbook, it will show up every time you open up Excel. So that's where if you have a macro that does a shortcut for something, you would save it there. But we're going to save it in this workbook, and we're going to call this macro just, we'll just call it renew. And then we'll click OK. So now Excel is recording every keystroke and every click that I'm going to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click right here, and I'm going to type in select, and I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to paste it all the way across. And then I'm going to come here and do the exact same thing. I'm going to copy that, I'm going to paste it all the way across. And then here I'm going to type in 50. And I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to paste it all the way across. Here I'm going to type in 2, and I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to paste it all the way across. Here I'm going to type in 1, and I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to paste it all the way across. And so now it has refreshed everything in the entire workbook for us. So now I just click on stop. And you might ask, well, why didn't I do select the same for here and here? Well, the only reason why is because this line and this line have different lists that they associate, or that they are linked to. And so if I try and copy over the two lists, it can sometimes mess up your data validation. It'll say, wait, you already have a list that you're adjusting here, and it tries to treat these two as if they're attached to the same list, and it causes problems. So I just did them separately. And then I will click stop recording, and then I'm just going to go to insert, and I'm going to go insert a button. I'm going to put that button right here, and I say I want to assign the renew macro to this button, and we are going to reset values. And then let's move this right over here. Okay, so now so now if we click this button, we can see that it goes to work, and it just refreshed everything for us. And so now we have this, everything's working, we just need to format. So I'm just going to keep everything nice and tidy on the same page, but I want all of this to disappear. So I'm just going to highlight all of this, and I'm going to go to Home. I'm going to make all of this turn to light gray in font. I'm actually going to make the entire workbook turn into light gray font, and then we'll just go back and we'll change this into dark gray font, and this into dark gray font, all of these into dark gray font, and this into dark gray font. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here, I'm going to highlight all of these, and I'm going to change the font color for them, and so now they are hidden. You can no longer see them because I have there the same font color as the fill. And then I'm going to highlight these and do the exact same thing to get rid of them. Highlight, those are fine to have the stock and the option prices right there. Now I'm going to move this table over here and make it significantly larger than it was previously. So now we have, and then maybe I'll put a line up here at the top, and just for formatting, I like these to be center aligned because I think that makes them prettier, and these also to be center aligned. Okay, now we have everything, and then you can go ahead and type in whatever you want right there. Now suppose that we want to see what a collar will look like. So in a collar you are long, for example, a particular stock. So we're going to go long one share. And now to do a collar, collars are instruments that are designed to try and protect people from changes in a stock price. So we like where the stock's right now, we don't want it to go up or down. So what we're going to do is we are going to short a call option. So we're going to call, and then we're going to click short, and we're going to short a call option with a high strike price. And so high meaning above 50, so we'll just say 60. And then we're going to long a put with a low strike price, And then the premiums in this case don't really matter because we can see the shape. Now if we look down here, the blue line is the price of our call. So regardless what the underlying asset value is, the payoff to my portfolio is going to be in this area. So basically we put a collar around the payoff. Now we can also see the gray lines show us the value of the put and the call, or the put and shorting the call, and then the stock price, and so we can see what's going on here. And that's it. So thank you for watching.